Wolfenstein II is a new Colossus.
Wolfenstein. I gotta say, I keep forgetting the name of this game. It's like the New Order, the Old Blood, the New Colossus. I have no idea what game I'm playing. But I beat it this morning, and it's tough to say because I don't want this to be a review. We can kind of talk about the game
This is your initial
overall.
first impressions, yeah.
Well, it's final impressions, I guess, because I beat it. But there's still some other things. So like, you beat it, and then there's things you can still do. These like missions that take place in the levels that you already been to, but there's other commanders and stuff to take out. And I think the moment to moment gameplay, like when it works, is phenomenal. There are some nagging problems I have with how it does its health system. Like the first game had this too, where you could overcharge your health and the difference and your armor. So you have like 200 health, 200 armor. And when you're going into a firefight with that much health, it gives you this weird godlike feeling that when you don't have it and you have like 30 health, you feel like you're made out of cotton. And it
Congratulations, that's just Wolfenstein gameplay,
well,
Ben.
I know, but it doesn't telegraph this enough, I feel, to the player where I don't I'm just getting shot twice. Oh, now I'm dead, but before I could get shot like 30,000 times. And there's no visual way except for the numbers, which in a firefight, I'm not looking at numbers to know.
Something tells me that may be a bit of a holdover from it wanting to appeal to its own roots while also not
Sure.
wanting to appeal, while also trying to. It's a weird accessibility problem where do you make it more accessible and by in essence destroy a part of the game?
Yeah, I don't think
Because
it's that bad. It's just when you turn a corner and someone has a shotgun and like instantly kills you and you didn't even see them, that's where it's like, okay, that's bullshit. I don't like that. And it is a little bit unfair feeling.
that is. I never actually fully had that problem, but I think it's because since I actually do remember playing through some of the old build engine shooters, I remember going to that pattern of building yourself up, going through a gunfight, and once the gunfight's over, I quickly look at the numbers and say, "Oh, I need to avoid blank," because I think the game does a good job of articulating when you're getting shot, where the shots are coming from, the damage in question to
Yeah.
to the the radial. That's fine, that's good modern shooter design, but I think you do have a bit of a point though. Like, you've been shot to pieces but you're in the moment, and because you're in the moment, you're not fully thinking through your health. You're thinking like it's Call of Duty. Like eventually it'll regenerate and get back to the fight.
Even if it won't regenerate, it just you're in the middle of a fight. Maybe you lost all your armor, but you don't realize you lost all your armor. You're just trying to take cover briefly and like regroup, reload, and you go
Yeah,
out there and you're just dead. And you're like, well, what happened? Oh, I ran out of armor. I didn't even notice. I was in the thick of it.
I think we do need to preface this a little bit. I think you kind of mentioned several times during our preview streams of the game. You kind of said that shooters aren't exactly your bread and butter.
No, I mean, I play a fair amount of shooters. I played Call of Duty and Titanfall 2 and Battlefield 1 last year. I played through
Yeah.
Wolfenstein earlier this summer.
Yep.
Um, and I like them a lot, but I prefer the slow stealth stuff. And this game does have stealth, which is
I
good.
do like the
But
stealth. I do like the stealth that New Order and Old Blood had.
yeah, I'm certainly not MLG pro, but
Oh
I mean,
no.
I don't think you should have to be. I'm not like I was shooting the wall or the floor. I
Oh
was
no.
trying. Well, I did shoot the wall a lot. To be fair,
You did bother me a little bit.
I
If
was
I may,
doing so bad, so bad.
if I may be a little bit of a backseat player, I guess I remember you really loving the dual wielding, and
Yeah, it is a lot of fun.
I did like what I saw from New Colossus, where you can dual wield now and dual wield any gun with another gun. It doesn't just have to be a
Oh
copy
yeah,
of the same weapon. You can alternate those now. But the thing is, whenever I played the new Wolfensteins, I would usually save those for close quarters and corridor rampages, so I could just tear through people. Otherwise, I'd stick to one and do the lean out, aim down sights, pop and shoot thing to conserve my ammo. But then again, that's because I've been playing on more higher difficulties and I've been keeping in mind more ammo conservation and health stuff. And here I'm seeing you're trying to like headshot a guy from across the map
I
with the pistol and the assault rifle. You're like, I can't get you. I
was
can't
like,
get you.
well, it's probably my fault.
And the whole time I'm like, just put one of them away, aim to the sides, and
the
take
the
your time.
thing too, and this is what I realized in that stream, also was like the auto aim is really weird and not how I'd play games normally. Like it auto aims like to their head instead of to them.
Mhm.
So when you go over the sights, it's just like boom, right to their head. But I was aiming at their chest and was moving the right stick to aim to
Naturally
their
moving the
head.
stick up to go to the head without
Yeah,
realizing it's already going to the head.
yeah,
So
exactly. So
And
And also the game puts you in all these situations where it's like you are a badass, kill all the Nazis, and you do. So it's fun to just be dual wielding, going around killing a bunch of guys, and then you'll hit a wall.
just go crazy.
You'll hit a wall, and it feels like there's two different games going on here that don't quite work together with how I was playing it. Sometimes it didn't actually happen that much. That was probably the worst instance of it.
I remember the New Order having that problem as well. Like when you were just fighting regular mooks and just taking your time and popping up,
Yeah.
was fine. And then these armored super enemies would show up, and then suddenly it would turn into almost an impromptu boss fight where it's like, crap, now I have to use these tactics and just whittle down the health bar of this guy. And for me that was the low point of the New Order.
I agree.
And to Legend of Senth Old Blood. Like on the one hand, it's a good throwback to facing an Uber enemy from before, but on the other hand, I felt like they could have been a bit more creative with it instead of just being a bullet sponge.
Well, and it happened a lot, and it was like 6 or 7 clips of ammo into these things. I was like, that's way too much. And they don't do that in this game. It's much more manageable.
Yeah.
And they're still powerful, and you got to avoid them and be smart about it, but it's not your fault.
I did see that with New Colossus. Like they're much more mobile now, and they're much more dynamic. You know what I mean? Like New Order, the baddies show up, they would just move slowly, and they would have these really bullcrap flak cannons, and you have to avoid them.
Yeah.
And it became tedious. These guys force you to move and maneuver and take and be spatially aware and take your shots when you can. Which is, for me, just what I've seen, what you play with your streams, it looks like they improved upon that in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, a bullet sponge isn't inherently a bad thing as long as you aren't just mindlessly plinking away at them. And making you mobile and keeping you going while also avoiding other stuff, I think, is a small compromise to that.
Yeah, they did a much better job of that too. Also with like the special weapons you'd pick up from them, just make you feel stupid powerful, but they balance it out while you're still fighting a bunch of crazy guys. Like, oh, I have to be smart here, even though I have a giant laser. And they did a great job with that.
Pop this guy first, pop that guy first, pop. And it reminded me of why Doom was so well received last year, because it brought back Wolfenstein. I know was kind of the beginning of the sort of trend of going back to the classic shooters, and I'm glad they did it. But I remember both this and Doom doing something similar. It's not just about hiding behind cover and taking your shots. It's also prioritizing strategy. Like, who do you take out first? How do you take them out? Are you willing to waste that shot? Are you willing to take that shot? Are you willing to move? Are you willing to do all this? And it keeps you moving and thinking all the time. And for me, that's probably why I think we're in a kind of a renaissance now of shooters, because we have kind of gone out of the military shooter realism hole. I mean, even the more recent Call of Duties haven't even been doing that. They may go back to it now with World War II. We don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out soon. And because you mentioned Titanfall 2, I mentioned Doom. It's becoming a lot more mobile and actively thinking. But then, from the levels I've seen from New Colossus, the levels still feel kind of like these slow corridors full of cover and and I can see there could be some disconnect there. But I've yet to play it myself, because seeing somebody else play is not the same as playing it yourself, because you mentioned the aim assist problem. Like that was the most annoying thing I hated about Grand Theft Auto 5 when I started playing it. The aim assist on that game was aggressive as hell. You so much as aimed in the general direction of an enemy, it would snap you right to their chest.
I do remember that. Yeah, it was very magnety.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pull out my gun and try to shoot this bird. You mean shoot this guy across the street? Sure. What?
I know, like no. Not the civilian, not the face.
Well, I guess I gotta steal a car now and go off a cliff, Thelma and Louise style. Thanks a lot, game. But
yeah, I don't know, because it's tough. It's tough to say. Like, I really do like first-person shooters. I consider Half-Life 2 like one of my favorite games of all time. I really love these games. It's just a genre I go away from, and I've kind of tilted more towards third-person shooters, or like a Gears is more my bag. That's slower.
That slower, meatier
cover,
yeah.
I do like the meatiness of it. I really do like that of Gears. So it's different, but I did really enjoy the game. I beat it on normal. It's not like I turned it to easy. I'm not that bad.
Yeah. I'm not gonna be the guy wagging his finger and saying you suck.
Yeah, I beat Cuphead, so everyone shut up. okay.
I'm a real hardcore gamer, so you gotta pay
Super
attention.
hardcore. FPS is probably my worst genre. To be fair, like skill wise,
Hmm.
probably
Yeah,
my worst
I
genre.
hear you,
But you know,
and I really can't complain. I'm starting to get to the point where I'm actually playing through New Order on Uber difficulty, so I've kind of gone. I'm more acclimated to these mechanics,
hmm
and it looks like it's a good healthy combo of more of the same. And
hmm
I think probably the most underappreciated thing I've seen so far, just when I've seen you play the game of New Colossus, has actually been its storytelling. Like it's got some good
oh
voice
yeah,
acting, it's got some good mocap going on, it's got some great cutscenes, and I talked about this briefly before the show, but I think it is something that maybe should be lightly discussed. It's actually a bit of contention that's been happening with the beginning of the game. Apparently, New Colossus is a direct sequel to the New Order. So, spoiler, spoiler, spoiler. New Order, spoiler, spoiler, spoiler. New Order. BJ Blazkowicz escapes the assault on Death's Head's compound, but he's dying. And they contextualize the opening as being this sort of near death experience flashback where you get to see BJ's family, his sort of childhood, and
yeah,
they bring up this sort of abuse element with this aggressive father figure, and there's actually a pretty terrifying sequence where he forces you to shoot your dog, and people have been talking about how that kind of muddles the message about violence, hating violence, and resisting against oppression. And for some reason, people are arguing that it muddies the water. That that this opening says you should not shoot, you should not be a violent person, but then the rest of the game says shoot all the Nazis, be crazy. And something tells me that something tells me it's either a level of people reading too much into it, or
yes.
maybe there are other elements in the game that there is a certain level of incongruity. Because I think you and I made it perfectly clear through our social media presence, Ben, that you and I are very aggressively in the punch all the Nazis camp.
I'm not a fan of Nazis. I mean, they're not my favorite people.
Hey, a little ketchup on the side, forget about it.
Little great people. Well, I think what's interesting that you might not know going into this game is like half of it really is a personal story with BJ,
Yeah,
kind of dealing with his demons. You know, in a
and
way that I think they handle very well. And like you're saying,
which is really weird because they more or less play him as the World War II greatest generation, ultra macho man
yeah,
archetype to the hilt, but they do this very kind of humanizing, grizzled, exhausted vibe to him, which is what I loved about the New Order. Like, putting that sort of badassery on a new spin, and I like how they continue that in New Colossus.
yeah. Will in the chat says I'm anti-Nazi too. Good job.
I love you,
Thank you.
Will.
Yeah. And I do think they do a really good job of kind of having that personal story, having him almost go through this like I'm dying. What do I do? What do I tell? The mother of my children,
Yeah.
while I'm fighting all these Nazis. I think they do that a great job at that, almost to the detriment of
The world is
let's
going
fight
to
Nazis. Yeah, to the
the world
detriment
is
of the
go-
world. Yeah,
the world is going to hell, and I'm leaving the future to uncertainty. That's actually terrifying, and I like they went with that, and that being
yeah,
the arc for a guy that could have easily been as very very archetypical as the Doom Marine in Doom 2016, and they
yeah.
actually ran with it. So I'm like, shoot.
It's pretty good. I mean, admittedly, that's not the whole game that you're dealing with your demons and whatever, but
Of course not.
it's
Of
not like
course
the
not.
final boss is you in a mirror or something weird. Like,
You
but
were
they
the
definitely do readdress the stuff you're talking about at the beginning with BJ's
yeah,
father and
because
his family.
I get a feeling there's some context missing there because, like I said, I've seen some people argue that it muddles the water. That the game says violence is wrong, but also watch how fun it is to kill
I
Nazis.
don't
I'm
even
like,
think it says violence is wrong at the beginning. It's more of like this is the world, to get used to it. This is how it's just contextualizing who he is more.
and I think that's what people are missing about it because on the very surface, it very is upfront saying it's the old Yeller situation. It's be a man, take charge, but it was done in a very aggressively dark way with his father. Because if you notice, he came off as very anti-Semitic. He came off as very harsh, and he came off as almost being kind of a precursor to what would eventually happen later on in history with Germany and the rise of the Nazi Party. And I did like there was a bit of a foreshadowing there, like this sort of rise of these kind of people didn't just come out of nowhere, and that BJ's life was shaped by that long before he joined the army. I like that,
Yeah.
but I can think they maybe could have done something a bit different when it comes to the shooting the dog thing. Although I did like how you actually can like angle the gun to not hit the dog initially,
Yeah.
and I like that little bit of light resistance. So I think actually, in that respect, it actually reinforces some of the themes. And this is just from what I've seen from the very beginning of the game, and it's why I really do think both it and New Order have a lot more going on in their heads, a lot more than just being a shoot 'em up fest. And I think that's why I really do think Machine Games really deserves all the praise they're getting, and
just
all
like
the
uh just like with the New Order, this has some just phenomenal cutscenes and storytelling moments. And like there's this one scene where like I was stunned at what happened, and there are several moments throughout where it's like, oh, okay, we're going here, and this is really really interesting and something I didn't expect, and I love
oh
seeing it, and it has nothing to do with shooting or killing half the time.
oh my gosh. Here's something as well that reminded me. This is also in your stream. The cutscene where BJ Blazkowicz meets Grace,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
bombed out in New York, and it's just the two characters talking, and she's retelling what happened when the bomb hit New York City. They could have easily made that just a really show-offy, nasty flashback where we see things go bad and she panics and we could revel in the destruction and the evil of
Yeah.
the Nazis, and it's just her very solemnly, vulnerably recounting what happened, and it's a very effective monologue, and they
Mm-hmm.
focus on it, and I'm like, shoot. And
They give these scenes their time. They're not cutting corners with any of them. They go, some of them are like 5-10 minutes long. It feels like they're really in it.
yet the pacing and the cinematography are so good, you
Yes.
don't really care. And it does the same trick I noticed with the New Order, because New Order totally is kind of all over the place, because on the one hand it wants to be about fighting against the Nazis in a world gone wrong, and it wants to be about themes of resistance and fighting and camaraderie, but then people kind of forgot, oh yeah, there's a level where you go to a moon base, where you go to a Nazi moon base, and
Yeah.
it's juxtaposed with a level where you go to a concentration camp and get processed. And for me, I actually appreciated that a lot more, because it goes into the sort of schlocky sci-fi vibe, but it still remembers the seriousness of what they're fighting for and don't try to make them cartoonish. Like, they do just enough to make these villains tangible and, and remind you that, oh yeah, we didn't make this up. This happened.
Yeah.
It's still important. In that mix of stuff still fits with it, because once again, I've only seen maybe up to the first five chapters of the game, give or take. You've mentioned this multiple times in your stream,
It
and
is
it
the
kind of
first 5 chapters.
and it goes back to what I saw with New Colossus. It plays this seriously, but it also has some fun with it, like the conspiracy theorist guy going on about
Mm-hmm.
Roswell, about
Mm-hmm.
how it's about aliens or whatever. And once again, BJ Blazkowicz is basically in a suit of power armor made by a secret organization of super scientists who were hiding away from the Nazis because reasons. Like,
Yeah.
I know people have I know people have been saying that feels like it's against what it should have been about, but I think it kind of adds to this sort of level of almost pulpiness, this sort of earnest pulpiness to it, and I
It's
like that.
nice to have some levity in here, but I
Yeah.
will say there's a scene at the end, not at the end, but like towards the last third, I guess, that is just like a long kind of fun thing, and it doesn't hit me. Like maybe other people will like it, but to me it felt so tonally shifted with what we just did and what we're going to do and how the game ends and how the game begins. It's like this just doesn't fit to me. Like there's too much fun, there's too much joking right now. But maybe that's the point of them like doing the
and
scene. I don't know.
and I will say this. I think it kind of guess sort of tie this stuff together in some weird ways, that I've noticed that it's been happening a lot more recently. Like, games, in terms of pacing and design and narrative, have become a lot more confident with what they want to be. They
Mm-hmm.
don't. They're not adhering too much to formula anymore. Like once again, I mentioned Evil Within 2. That game could have easily just been the first half stretched out meticulously across the entire game, but instead it goes off the deep end in the second half. But I can't really call it a bad call. I can't really call it a smart call either. But
Yeah,
but
it's
but it's sticking in my head. The new Wolfenstein, that could have easily just been a first-person shooter where you fight Nazis, and they just leave it at that. Like, it ends with you killing Hitler. Yay, we killed all the Nazis. Yay! But then it remembers to add other stuff. It remembers to add other elements,
and to be
and
fair, you don't. I'm not confirming or denying that you kill Hitler.
I'm just referring to like I'm talking about Wolfenstein 3D, where that
Okay,
whole game is literally just go through rooms,
go
kill
kill Hitler.
Nazis. Yeah, go kill Nazis, go get keys, open doors, so you can kill more Nazis, and at the end you kill Hitler in a robot suit. Yay, you killed the Nazis, yay! But now these new Wolfensteins, like, it can't just be about killing Nazis. We have to add more to it, and I appreciate that with machine games. Like, they could have easily just, you know, did Return to Castle Wolfenstein. They could have just added in crazy super science because, pulpiness. We could fight Nazi werewolves because why the heck not? And like, no. Let's actually treat this sort of seriously as an alternative timeline and to World War II and play with this a bit. And it's curious how it goes about. And I appreciate that so much when it comes to games now. When it comes to game narrative, like like they have kind of gotten out of this. It's grindhouse. It's satire. We can be silly all we want stuff, and now they're knowing how to kind of put in some tonal juxtaposition, some tonal changes. Because I think the only other franchise I could think of that did that all the time was the Metal Gear Solid games. Because you want to talk about total whiplash, you should look at some of the earlier Metal Gear games.
That's a good point. Actually, it's kind of like it does do weird things like that. Actually, that's a good comparison.
Yeah, I'd say so because Metal Gear Solid, the first game can go back and forth between the merits of nuclear disarmament, and then you can have a guy stripped naked and there's a blur effect over his character model, and you can fool a guard to letting you out by using a ketchup bottle, and there's I'm like, and then you get tortured. What? And then you
Yeah.
and you get tortured. Oh, there's a fourth wall breaking sequence where you fool a psychic man by changing the controller port. Wait, what? How? What? And there's a mythic sharpshooter that can ricochet bullets because he's just that good with them. What? It's all over the place, but it
It
works,
all
oddly
works.
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works, and it's been a franchise for like 20, 30 years now.
I know. Now it's one of the longest running franchises ever until they killed it. I think that's
Metal Gear Survive.
it's not over till it's over, Snake. I think that's a good place to stop when we start talking about Metal Gear Solid. That's another can of worms.
That's a big old can of worms.
That's
but
a big something.
But it's clear that you really enjoy what you've played of the new Colossus.
Oh yeah.
I am kind of going crazy now because new Colossus, Mario Odyssey, and Assassin's Creed Origins have all come out as of this recording today. So I'm like,
Too much.
oh god.
I would say I've only played 2 hours of Mario, but I would get Mario.
Oh,
I love Mario.
you're
And
twisting my arm, man.
Wolfenstein is like
A
maybe
chaser.
to do everything, it's like 16 hours to do everything.
Yeah.
Beat the campaign's 12-ish, maybe.
Mhm.
It's a
All right.
shorter-ish game, but still really good. And I'll have a full review next week and a review on the site forthcoming, which I will be writing also very soon.
I'll be sure to make sure your words don't suck then.
Well, that's debatable because I don't know if I could do that. But thanks for hanging out, Tyler. It was good to have you on the show.
It's been a while. I think the last time you had me on, we were talking about Neo.
Yeah, like 2 hours of Neo. Let's not do 2 hours of anything ever again. But Neo,
no.
great game.
Yes,
still another great game.
it's another great game, but still, all the same. Actually, if you don't mind, I do want to bring up that I think around 10 p.m. 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on my own Twitch channel. I'm actually going to be continuing a stream for Halloween with my run of Darkest Dungeon. So if you guys want to hear me talk a bit more about stuff and die horribly to cosmic horrors, you can check me
Spooky.
out at check me out at twitch.tv/digidesperado26. So
All
have fun
right,
with that.
yeah, definitely do that. I've enjoyed watching you do weird things in Resident Evil 7, so that was fun for me. Since that's a game I played probably uh, 8 times through. I
Yeah,
did like speed runs of it. It's too much.
hey, I'm glad I finished it at least. So, and I think that's kind of why I'm just kind of saying, okay, crap, we have 1 week left in October. What can I stream? Darkest Dungeon? Yeah, sure. Let's
That's
play a bit of
spooky
Darkest
enough.
Dungeon. It's
Yeah,
spooky enough, and you can see me rage whenever things go wrong.
and that's scary. All right, I do this show every Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific time, twitch.tv/thegamefanatics. Next week will be Mario and Wolfenstein 2 and I don't know, something else. Who knows? Some big news thing will happen. Maybe NeoGaf will go down again. Jesus Christ. All right, thanks for hanging out. Merry Christmas. Happy Halloween. What other holidays are there, Tyler? Easter?
Happy Halloween, happy Thanksgiving, happy Turkey Apocalypse, happy Blood Bag Day,
Okay,
happy.
that's enough days. That's enough. All right, thanks for hanging out.
Good night, everybody.